I'm going to begin, Casey, just by asking, I mean, you had to go into work every day and adopt the kind of perspective and the mindset of a man who's lost everything and is haunted by the kind of memories of his own past. I mean, when you have to play a role like that, it can't be easy just to shake off when Kenneth shouts cut, or is it something that really sort of stays with you throughout the shoot and perhaps even afterwards?
Well, not for too long afterwards, you hope, but it does stay with you sort of throughout the shoot, more or less. You try to shake it off and have a few laughs from time to time, but it's the subject matter is pretty heavy, and a lot of the scenes are pretty heavy. And the way that Kenneth likes to work is to sort of really have a lot of conversation about what's happening in the scenes and put the actors into it, and you tend to find yourself I found myself in a pretty depressed state a lot of the time, but there's some humor in the movie, and there's some humor on set too.
I was going to say that, some of the scenes are really funny, particularly that sort of sequence at the beginning when Lee is kind of meeting a lot of the people that have hired him to do their plumbing for him. That got a lot of laughs in the cinema. But, I mean, when you must have a lot of faith, I guess, in Kenneth that he's going to get that right, because it's sort of tonally there is a risk that injecting humour into a film like this could be quite dangerous.
I'm not sure he could help it. He's a really funny guy. All of his plays and his other movies have a nice balance of, heavier trauma and some lighter stuff. I think it maybe would have just been sort of insufferable if it was the whole time such a kept that one kind of grim note. It would get too bleak. It needed some laughs.
I mean, the audience are kind of constantly changing their opinions on Lee and many other characters in this because of the kind of non-linear approach that's taken. Yeah. Did you have a similar experience reading the screenplay? Were you sort of, almost like an audience member were you changing your opinions on everyone and kind of trying to figure out how you felt about certain people?
I think I was. That's a nice observation, but I wasn't doing that in a kind of trying to solve a mystery kind of a way. It was more like, when I read the script and also when I saw the movie for the first time in Sundance, I realized how much it just sort of washes over you like a memory or a wave or something. You just kind of take it all in instead of trying to track what is going on. It was more like just living with these people for a while, and you feel like nothing's happening until you kind of get to the end of the movie, and suddenly you feel like a lot has happened and you've lived with them for a long time and you kind of understand them.
Because, I mean, the script, the intricacies and the kind of meticulous attention to detail is staggering, really. I mean, when you received this script, did you think pretty much straight away this is quite a special piece of filmmaking, potentially?
Definitely. Yeah. First time I read the script, I was really moved, and I called Kenny, and it was a little different than it was ultimately, but I said, it's a perfect script. And he said, I don't think so yet, but I'll get working on it. And so, but it was, sometimes you read a script and you just sort of know right away that it's a special story. And
one thing he manages to get from through his films is incredible performances from his actors. What is it about him, just maybe on set, that allows for that? Is it a freedom he gives you? I know you worked with him on stage before. Do you think that working in that kind of pure acting environment helped when you sort of came to this set?
I think Kenny's just very, very smart about people, and so that's what makes him a good director. I don't think there's any special skills. It's not the kind of thing you might be able to learn at school, but I think that the best directors are people who just have great instincts about human beings, whether they're characters in a script or on stage or friends of theirs. And the way that he directs is to kind of just talk about the characters until you kind of feel like you have a better understanding of them, and it helps you play them.
The commitment to kind of realism is so striking. There's one moment in particular I remember where Lee's on the phone to Patrick's kind of principal, and it just keeps cutting out because the reception keeps going. And that doesn't serve the narrative at all, that little moment. But who thinks of that? Like, when people write a kind of conversation in a movie, they just write a conversation. But to kind of write it and have it like that, it's sort of. Do you think there's anyone else kind of out there quite like Kenneth Lonergan at the moment?
I think Kenny has a very unique voice, and it's in his plays from 20 years ago, one of which I did here in London, and it's in all of his movies, and it's sort of, there's a very similitude that is really uncanny, and also of my generation a little bit. I listen to his dialogue, and it feels like those are people I know who are talking. They talk like characters talk like people I'm friends with, I think that it sort of makes you invest more in the story and in the characters and care more about them.
I mean, naturally, this film is already being spoken of in kind of awards season terms, and particularly your performance as well. I mean, many people call it a kind of career best performance. I was wondering, is that something that you're able to kind of acknowledge? Are you able to say, yeah, I think that might be my best performance to date, or is that something that only other people can really spot?
Definitely not something that I would feel comfortable saying, because I don't think I have any perspective on my own performances. I have tried very hard to not watch too many of them, because I think I had a distorted sense of what I was seeing, and I didn't want to be bothered by it. So I think that if people sort of respond to it well, they are responding to all kind of things. You know, a performance depends on the context of the film, and it depends on the direction you've been given, and the writing that you were given, and the people you're acting with, and all of it. So you kind of can't take credit for it, and you know, just as much as you can't take all the blame when it sucks. And I've experienced that too. So I resist the temptation to kind of judge any performance.
Lewis and Clark's coming up. I'm just wondering, it must be so great to be involved in TV series at the moment, because I guess a few years ago those opportunities weren't so there as much, because TV wasn't quite as good as it is now.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's a great opportunity to tell these huge long stories, and they spend a lot of money doing it, and sometimes it takes a lot to tell some of those stories well. You know, these big epic adventures. So. Nice to be a part of, yeah.
Cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey!